Okay, breaking news. It's going crazy in the Middle East. And whenever I want to know what's going on in Israel, I call my man, Rabbi David Kaufman. He's in the house today live on The View from a Pew.
Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome. It is the 15th day of November in the Lord's year 2012. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Thursday edition of The View from a Pew. And if you've spent any time in your social networking watching any national news today, it's starting to get a little harried over in the Middle East. And some of you may say, oh, shucks, Mac, it always is. Well, I believe that also, but then I start checking sources and talking to people who are connected, not just sitting on the outside looking in, like Rabbi David Kaufman, who's in the studio today, and I realize that this may be a little more serious than, yeah, it always happens. Army Brad in the house, along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and you've just got to tell me that there's intelligent chat going on today. It's not about bacon.
Well, I'm the only one on right now, so.
Oh, okay. All right, and Father Tattoo in the production room. All right, you okay over there, Rabbi?
Yes, things are just, phone is ringing off the hook today.
Well, and please feel free to take any call you need.
It's okay.
And walk away. We can always talk about that free-range turkey I bought today for our family Thanksgiving that my buddy Carl Blake delivered to me. So, first time I've ever had a free-range turkey. Have you ever had one?
What exactly is a free-range turkey?
It's
a hippie turkey. It's been running around in the woods, living in communes.
Is he saying that he took a wild turkey?
Yeah, more. Well, they basically free range is they have a big farm and they let them run wherever. They live out in the woods and eat natural stuff and live all natural. And
now there's no chemicals, there's no trimming, there's no fattening them up. Okay, Butterball right now is fattening their turkeys by having them drink fat, drink blood, drink oils, drink butter, drink and eat those type of things.
Making me hungry.
Okay,
Butter.
How you doing?
Bacon.
Good.
All right. Is it worse today than it was 1 week ago?
Is what worse? A week ago we weren't at war, so
Are we at war? Is Israel at war?
Right now, functionally, what's going on is there really is war going on. Israel's been, unofficially, they've never not been at war with Hamas.
Correct.
But you really didn't have the same kind of conflict going on prior to yesterday. Yesterday, Israel did a targeted airstrike and killed Ahmed Jabari, who is the head of Hamas military wing, who coordinated numerous attacks against Israelis and was responsible for the kidnapping of Gilad Shalit and many attempted kidnappings of other Israeli soldiers. The Israelis also conducted a number of airstrikes. I think 20 specific sites were targeted that were places where they either had long-range missile launchers or stockpiles of longer-range missiles that were designed to reach Tel Aviv and further into Israel. And they knew that they had to take those out before they did anything else. But what's been going on for weeks now has been rocket fire coming in to communities along the border with Gaza, and it's very similar to where things were prior to Operation Cast Lead in 2009. The only problem, the additional problems beyond that are that Hamas now has a friend across the border in Egypt, Egypt is now controlled by the Muslim Brotherhood, and Mohammed Morsi is the president of Egypt. Can pretty much open those borders and let them, help Hamas any way he can. So that makes things much worse for Israel.
Is
And other
Hamas
things going on?
Is Hamas a part of the Lutheran? Pardon my language. Part of the Muslim Brotherhood?
Yes, Hamas is the child of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay, can you compare that to something in America for me that I would understand? Is it the National Guard?
No, I mean it's like if your church was planting a church in a different town, that's what it's like. And the Muslim Brotherhood is a multinational organization, and they have chapters all over the world. The government of Sudan is a Muslim Brotherhood organization. Hamas is a Muslim Brotherhood organization. It's just the parent organization is in Egypt.
But they seem to carry guns.
Yes, well, you have this strange thing where people allow these groups to get away with having a political wing and having a military wing and acting as if the two have nothing to do with one another, when in reality the military wings are basically just the armies that are working for the government.
Well, but that's
It'd be like if the United States said, "Oh, by the way, our armed forces have nothing to do with our political wing."
Yeah. Well, that's just a lie, right? I mean, it's just a lie. It's Satan's lie.
It's silly.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Somebody told me today that I have some friends in Israel, and I just got word that they may already be back in the United States. They came back a day early.
Yes.
But a friend of mine told me as long as they stay out of the South, they're going to be okay.
Yeah, right now it doesn't look like anything north of the southern suburbs of Tel Aviv is within range, and certainly not in the central part of the country. So it's really the South where there's pretty sparse population density, other than places like Beersheba and Ashkelon, which are really the major cities that are down there that are in range.
Okay,
and then a few other smaller areas.
What's the miles difference between the southern point and the northern point? What is that? 100 miles? Is that 1,000 miles? Roughly.
Well,
I don't need you to get your pedometer out and run it.
It's certainly not. It's in the hundreds.
Okay,
the whole from top to bottom, Israel is in the hundreds.
Okay.
As
As an American,
or something like that.
As an American, when you tell me that at this time the rockets are quote unquote out of range,
Yeah.
I don't understand that language. What do you mean?
Oh, you're talking like let's say we're downtown and the rockets are falling in West Des Moines is what you're looking at.
Okay, but why can't the rockets get to downtown?
Because they have a maximum distance that
It's
they
the type
can
of rockets
go.
in the
It's
range
type
that
of
those rockets have.
Now, what the airstrikes that Israel did on the first day on the longer range missiles, those missiles could actually hit the major population centers. And evidently what they've been able to do is take out launchers and the stockpiles of those missiles.
Okay.
Which means that the places that can be struck right now with at least highly damaging missiles are fewer than they otherwise could have been.
Rabbi David Kaufman is our guest today, and we're talking about the situation in Israel. Army Brad, I'm going to switch to you for a second, and you need to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
I always do.
Why doesn't Hamas have a rocket that can reach as far as they want, at least to the northern part of Jerusalem?
Because of the technology you need to have those missiles.
Do we have that technology?
We have missiles that can reach anywhere in the world.
Okay. Then again, why don't they have it?
Because you have to be able to maintain it. You have to have an infrastructure where those missiles can be maintained. Unless you're going to bring them in and fire them immediately, it's very expensive to keep and maintain those.
They have
missiles.
all the money in the world, don't they, Rabbi?
They, like most of what they're
don't they have a
with.
Soros, somewhere?
No, they're operating with two different kinds of weapons. They're operating with weapons that they make in Gaza, which are fairly low-tech weapons that they can use in mortars and just kind of lob across the border.
Big grenades.
And then they've got weapons that they bring in, many of which are made by Iran. Now, the ones that are made by Iran, whether they're made in Khartoum, Sudan, in the Yarmouk weapons factory, which I can talk about in a minute, which Israel took out in an airstrike 3 weeks ago, or they're shipped directly from Iran. Those Iranian weapons have a much longer range and much better accuracy than the mortars. you're launching some of these homemade mortars, they're not accurate at all.
Okay, so why doesn't the Hamas have these Iranian missiles?
Well, they try to import them, and they did have them. That's what the assumption is that Israel took out stockpiles of these Iranian missiles.
Okay.
And because in order to fire these longer range, more damaging weapons, you need more sophisticated launching mechanisms. It's not easy to hide those launching mechanisms, from what I'm understanding. It'd be like, if you tried to get a mobile missile launcher from our military, they're giant trucks that have this big apparatus put on the back of them. That's a different kind of thing than a mobile mortar launcher, which you can have two guys put in a wheelbarrow and drag around.
I'm sorry, I'm ignorant. This isn't your fault, it's mine. I just don't understand why there's not an ally, either up front about it or behind the scenes, that can't supply Hamas with those kind of weapons.
You have to be able to bring them in, though. They could probably have them, and they probably have training bases where they're able to use them, but you still have to bring the launcher and the ammunition. It's like not in a suitcase. If you're
it's on a boat.
If you have a boat with a missile launcher on it, they're going to be able to intercept that, hopefully.
This is part of why they're not letting the naval vessels in. That's why there's a naval blockade, because a lot of the big technological things, the major scale weaponry that Hamas would want, they can't get in very easily. And the other issue is, to be perfectly honest, if that weaponry showed up in Israel, if that weaponry showed up in Gaza and was used against Israel, it'd be fairly clear that it went through Egypt or that it came from Iran, and then you would give Israel pretty much the necessity of launching attacks against those militaries. Egypt, I'm sure, has been told by the U.S. administration not to do that and warned by Israel not to do that. So they have actually interdicted a lot of the weaponry that's been trying to get to Hamas. They're certainly turning a blind eye as much as they can, but at some point, when you see these big weapons coming in, they have no choice but to stop them, because if the Israelis or the U.S. find out about it, then everything comes down on top of Egypt.
All right.
Egypt.
Does this conversation then lead to, and this is why we don't want Iran to have nuclear capabilities?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, well, it definitely does. It definitely does. But not only that, I think that this is part of a broader campaign. And I published an article this morning on the weareforisrael.org website, which is my organization. But
we are FOR?
Yeah, AREFOR Israel. .org. And what I say is that this may be part of a broader campaign. The Israeli spokespeople say that the phase one was taking out Ahmed Jabari. The second phase was taking out these weapon stockpiles and the launchers, and that they were engaging in the third phase, which may well be ground and other things that are going on right now. And the Israelis are saying this operation is going to last weeks, not days. So we're not looking at, it's something that's going to be over by tomorrow.
And the operation...
And they called up 30,000 reserve troops just this afternoon.
And the operation the Israelis are conducting is to take out these launch sites in Gaza.
Well, the operation they're talking about crippling the terrorist organizations and protecting Israeli civilians. So their mandate right now is so large that, in essence, the leaders of Hamas, including the political leaders, are potential targets, as is everything else. This is not a small-scale operation. But let me.
Okay, we're gonna go to
take
a break.
Okay, we'll take a break, and then I'll give you the outline as I see it.
Okay, and then the other thing I want to talk about at some point today is, American elections 10, 11, 12 days ago.
Yeah.
And now Israel is on the move.
Yeah.
What's the correlation between those two? I want to talk about that before we're done. Rabbi David Kaufman in the house. He's the guy I've called on for years to help me understand what's going on. Army Brad's in the house, actually making himself useful today because we're talking about things he knows about. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat watch in the chat, and Father Tadu producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you. Right here on The View from a Pew on 99.3 KTIA Iowa, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Have you ever been told you're not a good enough Christian? Well, we have too. Join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. Now here's your host, president of the Not a Good Enough Christian Club, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 321, the 15th day of November. We're only going to have the rabbi until about 3:45, so we're going to move right along. We'll get to my question later. You were going to add something at the end of that, and then we went to break. Go ahead. I'll give you the mic.
Yeah, what I was saying is it looks to me like this is part of a broader campaign, that if Israel actually is ever going to do any action against Iran, or if the United States does, the chances are that Hamas and Hezbollah will both try to rain rockets down on Israel from both directions. And
Hezbollah coming out of Syria.
Hezbollah's coming out of South Lebanon, southern Lebanon. And so right now you've got a very unstable northern border. Things going on in Syria at the border with Lebanon also are bad. And you just had random stray rockets coming out of Syria toward Israel. There's also a question of whether or not if the rebels take control of Syria, if they're going to be problematic for Israel in addition. So anyway, what it looks like is that Israel was trying to limit what will happen if it attacks Iran or if the United States attacks Iran. It took out the weapons factory in the Yarmouk weapons factory, which was in the southern part of Khartoum, Sudan, southern part of the capital, an Iranian weapons factory that probably was making rockets that were coming to Hamas and to Hezbollah. And so Israel took out 40 shipping containers worth of weaponry. It caused a huge explosion there. They sent 8 fighter planes and a refueling plane that did a major sortie down there to destroy those. 2 days before the Iranian freighter and destroyer showed up to transport them wherever they were going to go. The Israelis also have been doing all kinds of significant reconnaissance along the border with Gaza and along their border with the Sinai, looking for smuggling tunnels in recent days, and found a huge one full of explosives where they set off the explosives, probably by accident or perhaps somebody saw it and set them off. This is an underground tunnel, and the Jeep, one of the Jeeps they were in, was launched 20 meters in the air by the explosion. So there were a lot of explosives there. Then they go in and do this operation in Gaza, and so my belief is all these things are connected, and that they've been preparing this for a while. That the first set of targets is going to be Gaza, and that the Israeli spokespeople basically are saying that our goal is to cripple the terrorist organizations. Well, the terrorist organizations are not just in Gaza. So as I see it, you could have, as we get into the spring, activities going on in southern Lebanon too, to try to weaken Hezbollah, who has even more rockets by a lot than Hamas does.
Okay, Rabbi, I'm confused about something. I thought Gaza started this by lobbing rockets into Israel a week ago, 10 days ago.
Hamas and Islamic Jihad have been launching rockets in Israel over the last 11 years. Okay. There have been off and on periods of less rocket fire. There have been times when it has increased. It has become intolerable in the south for a while now, and there have been people who've been calling for Israeli action against Hamas and Islamic Jihad for the last few months because it's been bad. But Israel doesn't just respond to a specific situation. And if somebody fires a rocket, Israel is not going to say, "Oh my gosh, we have to go invade. We have to go do a significant incursion and invade Gaza because of that." It's not a single thing. They're looking at things in a long term, and they're saying Hamas and Islamic Jihad got to a point where the amount of weaponry and the kind of weaponry they had was significant enough that they had to do something about it. When you've got rocket-propelled grenades coming out of on the border with Israel, hitting a Jeep, that just happened a couple of weeks ago, and 2 Israeli soldiers were seriously wounded, and I think one of them is going to lose his eyesight. When that kind of thing happens and that kind of weaponry is present, Israel feels a need to go in. When they're launching homemade mortars and just lobbing them over the border, that's a different situation.
When was the last time we were in this type of situation in the Middle East?
Well, this is December of 2009. You had Operation Cast Lead, so that is for sure a time when there was a major operation going on in Gaza. When there were hundreds of rockets coming out of Gaza like there are now, and Hamas has managed to stockpile lots and lots of weaponry. What I'm saying now is Israel was not about to wait until there were hundreds of rockets coming out of Gaza before they did anything, like they did last time. That's what happened.
But what they're doing now is triggered by what Gaza did.
Yeah, I mean, part of what is being triggered by is the fact that Hamas continues to prepare for war constantly. There's no desire for peace that's really been pushed forth here. And what you've had is attempts to promote a ceasefire where they can arm and increase all their weapon stockpiles so that when violence does happen, they have the better ability to do more damage. And so what we've seen is constant attacks coming out of Gaza and a decreasing Israeli willingness to put up with them, coupled with what strategic thinkers see as a more dangerous situation that Israel eventually has to deal with. And they're not talking about dealing with it in a small scale. I mean, you don't bring up 30,000 reserve troops because you think you're going to need to send in a couple special forces guys to take out a Delhi. There's some major scale stuff they're dealing with.
30,000. How many normal soldiers for Israel? 300,000? Is this a 10%?
Well, they've got a huge number of people in the reserves and soldiers. But when you're when you're
basically
calling up.
Pretty much the population of Israel from about 17 to 40 is trained and ready to step in and are in a reserve status.
Yeah, and their reserves are older than that too.
And so this isn't what I hear you saying. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What I hear you saying, this is not a fly swatter going at a mosque because they've been prickling my skin for the last 2 weeks with rockets.
They have had large-scale plans in the works for a long time. That
And
were
this is
simply triggered by the
not
recent
an expert
things.
by any thought of the situation, but it sounds to me listening is they've known, and this is they said, you know what, now's our good time. We know where their stockpiles are. If we wait, those stockpiles could be dispersed out. We've taken out the big source in Khartoum. Let's go in now. They give us enough license to go in and destroy and at least secure one border, so then we can be prepared next spring to go north and take out.
What Israel has figured out since 1973, with the failures of the Yom Kippur War in 1973, is that they need to have constant planning for different alternatives, whether it's being attacked by somebody or needing to do a preemptive strike against somebody. So those plans are constantly there, constantly changing, and when they see that certain criteria are met, that's when you go ahead and do it.
All right, so it's foolish to believe that the American elections 10 days ago had anything to do with this decision?
No.
What I would say is it's likely that they would have delayed it if they thought that they were going to do it earlier, because what they would not have done was go in and do this the week before the election, because that would have really upset not only the president but also Congress people. There was no way that they were going to turn the U.S. election into are you going to support Israel in this capacity? And so
by Gaza lobbing in these rockets, were they trying to get them to do something before the election?
It's possible.
Kind of just picking at them?
It's certainly possible that they have been doing that for a while. Look, it's also possible that they just don't like the fact that no one's paying any attention.
Okay.
So,
theory on my part. Obama doesn't like. I'm gonna do my best. Keenan Wynn. No, what's his name? Bush doesn't like black people.
Oh, I can't.
Keenan. What was the singer? Kanye West.
Kanye
West. This is my best Kanye West imitation. Obama doesn't like Jewish people.
No, look, I would say that the president, and we've had this conversation before, President Obama's policies directly toward Israel have not been as problematic as his policies concerning the broader Middle East. I mean, the concern that most Israel advocates have about this administration is the way that the administration has reached out to countries like Turkey, has welcomed the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood, and essentially made the neighborhood in which Israel is much worse.
Okay, so why
direct relations with Israel haven't been terrible? In fact, the Iron Dome anti-missile batteries, the anti-rocket batteries, have been doing a spectacular job in this. You're going to see more technological improvement with missile defense because of what's happened in the last 24 hours, probably, than in all the research that the U.S. military has done on rocket defense in its history.
Okay.
I mean, there's one video online I saw of 14 rockets being shot down by a Iron Dome missile battery, one after the other. So it's in 45 seconds, 14. So I mean, it's a very effective system. We're getting tremendous technology from that. Look, the Obama administration, the only statement that has come out from the Obama administration so far about this is that they're supporting Israel's right to defend itself. The State Department even came out and said it strongly. I was kind of surprised, because usually the State Department will come out and say something about that, and that they urge restraint or some other kind of qualifying statement. It didn't happen. And there are a number of people who are actually, especially in the Arab world, who are really upset about the fact that it didn't happen. So, now, you can make of that what you will, but the fears of how the Obama administration might react don't seem to have been becoming true at this point.
Rabbi David Kaufman is our guest, and you've got to get out of here, so I'm going to let you go at 35. So you got plenty of time to get there. Politics aside, what could happen that would go wrong for Israel, and what would be that consequence?
What could go wrong for Israel in this conflict?
Yes.
I think Israel always runs the possibility of having the international world believe propaganda that's simply not true and decide that Israel is simply acting aggressively because Israel acts aggressively all the time, instead of seeing this as Israel actually acting in its defense. That's what happened in 2009 with Goldstone and the Goldstone Commission, and it's been a problem. Israel is not allowed to defend itself in the minds of lots of people around the world, because there are people around the world who don't believe that Israel has a right to exist. Therefore, how can you have a right to defend it? And that's a big problem. And I
can't believe that's thought in the 21st century.
It still is. It still is, and we see it.
Especially
we see it
in
a
the
lot.
Arab world. I mean, they openly say it in Iran. So,
right, that's true.
The report. The other thing that can happen is that Israel can almost get the job done and be forced to stop, which has happened before also.
Forced politically
to stop. And I don't know that they're going to be willing to stop this time.
Right.
They were forced to stop last time. Politically, they didn't get everything accomplished that they wanted to get accomplished. This time, they pretty much did 21 strikes within the first hour or so of this conflict that took out 21 major targets.
Rabbi David Kaufman has been our guest today. I'll let you go because of other things that you have to do. I very much appreciate you being here. God bless you. And I hope to see you back here real soon.
Happy to come in anytime you want, Mac.
We're taking our break. We're coming back. We're going to unpack this through Army Brad's eyes and find out where we're at militarily.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Fight the good fight on a Rebels Cause Radio, Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on a rebelscause.com. A Rebels Cause Radio is edutainment.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling.
We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, 3:38, 22 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, and then True Blue hosted by the incredible Michael Mudloff. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat. Army Brad in along with Father Tattoo. Tell me, and I'm going to start with you, Father Tattoo. Tell me from a Christian perspective why you think it's important that we stick ourselves in the middle of this as an ally to Israel. Is it only biblical?
I actually wouldn't go the biblical route. I know there's a lot of people that do. That's more or less dependent on one's view of eschatology and what God has to say about Israel as a nation. And I don't care to address that so much. But they have been a great ally to us. And, I would like to live in a world where a handshake and a smile means that your word is your bond. And we have bonded ourselves to them as a country. They pledged support to us. We have pledged support to them. They've supported us in our endeavors.
We don't need them. Come on.
We may not.
If we don't
need
have them in that region, who do we have? We have nobody else in that region that we can trust tomorrow.
But the only reason we need that region is because of oil.
Okay, let me finish, though.
All right, go ahead.
It doesn't really matter whether we need them or not. The fact of the matter is that's an irrelevant point. The fact of the matter is we've told them they're allies, and they've been our ally. And so now when they're under distress, I feel that the United States should come good on its word. We were founded to be that nation that when we shook your hand and said, we'll take care of it, that we did our job. And part of our job as an ally is coming to their defense when they're unjustly attacked. Now, if this was a just attack and they had it coming, I would have a different kind of view, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. And so, like I said, I don't think I'd go from a biblical perspective at all.
Yeah, but so many people go from a biblical perspective because that's where everything is. I mean, Israel is the center of everything that has to do, with the Bible, and that's a part of why we back them.
But that's an eschatological point here, okay?
Whoa, big word. What?
Eschatology is the end times view. Bob, and I'm almost positive here, and Bob, if I'm wrong, but you're a pre-mill guy, right? Pre-millennium?
I'm not taking a position on that.
Okay. Well, but I don't think Israel has any real significance. I don't think they're guaranteed a country or any kind of protection through the scripture. I don't think we're obligated as Christians necessarily to protect them. I think we're obligated as Christians because we bonded with them, because we made an ally and a pact with them. I think that's the very same bond we could have with England or anything else. We are with these people.
It's just our side.
It is our side. This is the group we lied.
Yeah, but Nebraska left the Big 12. Well, I mean, but stranger things happen in this society.
You're talking football and things of real consequence.
Hey,
but the thing is, we know if you believe the Bible, then you know that they've always, that's their land. If you are a Bible believing person, so their history goes way back.
Right.
And the whole thing that we see is that they're trying to take their land away.
Yeah, but that hasn't always been their land. Look, Christ, when he was crucified, said, "Your land is being stripped from you. They're going to decimate your land, and they're going to turn your temple so not even two stones are stacked together." They don't have entitlement to that land, Bob. Whether that was at one point their land or not, God has not given them specific biblical entitlement that we should honor. Now, if God chooses to allow them, as he's clearly done since the 60s, to have a state, that is up to God. But I don't think that biblically we have some kind of moral obligation to defend that.
So when he promised Abraham the land that he could see, that it was his.
Are you not Abraham's child?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying that he took it away from Abraham then? He broke his promise?
I'm saying that he Abraham, the land he saw was his, and it extended throughout Abraham's generations. Now we're all Abraham's children, right? All believers everywhere. So what land? I mean, it's kind of a silly point, Bob. We don't make holy trips to the Holy Land, or at least the majority of Christians don't. We don't feel compelled to. Some do, because there's some interesting history there, and I'm sure it's a very valid and fun trip. But we're not religiously held to protect these people. I don't think in any other sense than we gave them their bond, and as a nation founded on Christian principles, we should respond to that bond.
What about the fact that those that curse Israel will be cursed, and those that bless Israel will be blessed? Does that have any meaning?
Where is that at in Scripture? I'm trying to pull that out in my mind here. My memorization isn't as good as yours, Bob.
It's in the Old Testament.
Okay. If it's in the Old Testament, I'd have to look at context of the verse. I've heard it. I'm trying to think of the specific context. I'm not saying that we should go out of our way to abandon these people, and I know there are people, even Christians, that would say this stuff. What I'm saying is I'm not trying to curse Israel. That we're not cursing them by saying, hey, this may not be our fight. I don't think we're morally obligated to do this for any other reason than when we allied with them. I think when we go to a country and we say, hey, you want to be allies? And they've come to our aid when Israel sent more soldiers than any other nation to help with the Iraq war and the wars we've been involved in here in the recent past. Nobody's supported us like Israel has. So in that sense, by the blood spilled in their soldiers on our behalf, we're bound to them.
Brad, what you say on this?
The biblical, I step aside for these powerhouses for the biblical view of it. On a political level, I think that we need Israel in that region as a cornerstone of any policy that we'll have. And when Iran gets close to having a nuclear weapon, which will probably be sooner than later, it'll be Israel that will be the sword that takes them backwards as opposed to the United States. And then hopefully we will be there to protect them from, because they have the political will to do it, because they have the political necessity to do it.
Okay, I want to challenge that statement with one thought. If it's important that we have ground allies in that region, then why did we give Iraq back to its corrupt people? And corrupt is the operative word there. Okay, we didn't give Iraq back to a freedom-loving, peaceful, police-protected people. We gave them back the mess that they had before, just without Saddam Hussein. And if it's about having a foothold, and I'm not saying I agree with this, I'm just asking, if it's about having a foothold, why didn't we make Iraq our permanent foothold so we could expand what we had in Jerusalem and Israel?
That is a question that would have to be answered by somebody else, because the way we left Iraq, I thought, was poorly done and poorly handled. And in the last election cycle, nobody seemed to care or want to talk about that.
Right.
Because the defeated country that we allowed, that we helped, that we rebuilt and put a political structure in place, then told us to leave for whatever reason, even though the greater threat to world peace was their neighbor and was sending operatives into Iraq to weaken our position. So when we were asked to leave, or told to leave, we chose that was a good time to leave.
See, and I don't want to start an argument on this, but someday I want to sit down with somebody who can debate this issue with me. I understand we've never gone into a country, invaded it, and then kept it for ourselves. And I like that track record for the most part.
But that doesn't mean that we've handed them back and pulled all over. I mean, we still have troops in Germany, Japan, all over the world. We still have troops, except for Iraq.
Right. That makes no sense to me.
Iraq is such a stable region that we really don't need a military influence, unlike Europe, which is just chaotic.
I disagree. I think we should have.
I was saying that sarcastically.
Oh,
if you didn't
okay.
understand that.
I
mean, Europe is stable. We don't need to worry about Germany rising up and going and being a threat to France and Poland, the way that we need to worry about Syria, Afghanistan, Iran.
I agree. Okay. By the way, Father of the Year Bob is listening, and he says hi. Father Tattoo is producing. Why do I have such a shine? We got to get rid of this. I don't. Yeah. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, Army Brad. We'll come back with our last thoughts. It's war.
Congratulations, Bob, on that new baby grandson.
It's war right now in Jerusalem. What do you think about that? Coming up next, live.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Fight the good fight on a Rebels Cause Radio. Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on a rebelscause.com. A Rebels Cause Radio.
Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, and it's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, 10 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, and then True Blue, hosted by Michael Mudloff, 15th day of November. 6 days till Thanksgiving. And just a reminder, we will not be on the air with live shows on Thursday or Friday for all of webcastonelive.com. All right. By the way, there's a little interesting reunion going on here. Years ago, when Bradshaw and I did the 98.3 show, that's how I met Brad. And Brad and a guy who I named Father of the Year because he was such an awesome dad.
I think actually Bradshaw named him as a slam, but Bob took it as a compliment.
Okay. And you guys worked together, and you became part of our radio show. And now he lives in Illinois.
Yep.
And he just had a brand new grandbaby. So maybe he's now grandfather of the year.
Probably.
Wait, no, then he's getting into my territory there.
Well, he's closer than you. You might be surprised how close he is. So.
Okay. All right. We're at war now. I'm sure there's a lot of Americans that just right now when they heard that said, whoa, Kimosabe, we're not at war. Israel's at war. So to the extension of the conversation we were having last bit, Brad, are we at war? Dan, are we at war? Bob, are we at war? I mean, the way you all described our relationship with Israel tells me Americana is at war.
Absolutely, we're at war, but we're not at war currently with the same group of terrorists and terrorist supporters that the Israelis are fighting. I think it's another
front
of the same war that we've been fighting for more than a decade. We are fighting their brethren in Afghanistan and taking casualties daily. I think a lot of Americans have forgotten that we're at war, and that's kind of sad.
We like to forget, yes.
course, the terrorists are at war with us. You know,
Right.
We're considered the big Satan.
Yes, I've heard
Israel's the little Satan.
Right.
And so we, even though we are not declaring, well, we're declaring war on
I've heard
terrorism.
that reversed. I've never heard us referred to as a big Satan. I've always heard
Actually, we were always referred to as the big Satan with the Soviet Union because they looked at them.
Yeah, I've never heard America over Israel. Like enemy number one, my understanding is Israel. And then they're coming for us.
Are we at war, Dan? We meaning America? We the people?
I really like his answer. As far as should we engage on this, man, that's.
I mean, should we be sending our troops over there? You guys just talked about how Israel
I agree.
sent troops into Iraq when we were there.
Mac, this is one of those. This is where it becomes hard to be a president. This is where it becomes real, and this is where, quite frankly, I had reservations about both men running. You know, I think we ought to make some decisions here that involve sending some kind of support. Now, whether that's flyover drones, whether that's fighter pilots, whether that's sending a couple missiles from a ship in the middle of the
From
ocean.
what I've seen and heard, they don't need our help.
Well, needing our help and not having availability to our help are two different things.
When we went into, or when we were fighting the first Persian Gulf War, the Israelis were chomping at the bit to help.
Sure.
And we said, thank you. If you come and help, it'll cause us more problems.
Are they saying that now, though?
I don't know that Israel has come to us and said, we need American support. And in reality, we are supporting them. If you look at a large quantity of their weapons,
oh yeah, they're American.
They have made in the United States or made in the United States through the United States and went directly to Israel. So we are helping them. We just don't have troops on the ground, boots on the ground, and I don't think they necessarily would want that right now, and I don't think they would ask for it unless they truly needed us there.
And I don't think that'd fly in America.
Bob
right
humbly pointed out to me, he sent me a great Wikipedia article. He is right. America is the great Satan, so they must be the little one. So maybe I reversed him in my mind.
Okay, we stand behind Israel. Iran stands behind Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
At what point does Iran play a greater role in this war?
Right now.
What do you mean?
Because if you could stop Iran, and maybe the Iranians would say, if you could stop the United States from supporting Israel, then Israel will go away. But if you can stop Iran supporting all these players in the Middle East, you'd see the levels of violence drop dramatically and continue to drop as if you don't have missiles to fire, you can't fire missiles.
It's just sitting here in this chair on the 15th day of November, it is beyond my sense, and I'm not the smartest guy in the room, I admit that. The lights don't, or the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. The lights aren't all on. Whatever you want to say about me, I don't understand why allowing Iran to continue to develop a nuclear program is even an option to any American. I don't understand why that's not the president's top priority today.
Well, see here I think I can answer this, and this isn't a good answer, but I think I can give you their answer, Matt.
Okay.
I think this goes right along with entitlement. People don't want people telling them what to do, so therefore, to be morally consistent, they can't tell anybody else what to do, whether it's for the good or not. It's kind of like you guys were talking off air before the show with Bradshaw about words that were allowed on the airwaves.
Right.
And you guys agreed that maybe some bad words should be allowed, but not used, right? And so we were talking about that.
Well, you either have freedom of speech or you don't.
Exactly.
And just because somebody says that word's offensive or it's a naughty word shouldn't make it.
Exactly. But what these guys are doing here is they're going, well, we have the freedom to have these. Why don't they? And sometimes freedoms should be earned, and not everybody should have those freedoms. If they're going to use them for evil purposes, then I don't want them to be free to own weapons. Now, if they're going to use them to protect themselves and to fend off attackers, or in the ways that I see America has in its past used them, then I don't have such a problem. But that's not the case here. These people would use them to attack, and that's what makes it wrong.
All right. I just I've always had a heart for Israel and the Jewish people, and I don't know where that comes from.
God.
Does that come from God?
Of course.
You know, I've never known. I mean, I've always known Jewish people, but I never saw them as Jewish people. I saw them as people. It's kind of the way I see blacks. I don't see them as black. They're just people. I have a heart for people who have a worldview similar to mine, and the Jewish people obviously have a similar, if not exact, worldview that we do. I just think it's getting tough to figure out who the good guys and the bad guys are. So as always, at the end of the show, I'll just ask you to simply do one thing. Always. All day. 24/7. Pray. Have a great day.